All right, calling the meeting for Tuesday, November 17th for Tangipahoa Parish School Board to order. Roll call, Ms. Jenkins.
Ms. Richards?
Present.
Mr. Toller?
Here.
Ms. Abrams?
Here.
Mr. Westmoreland?
Present.
Mr. Duncan?
He's in the restroom.
Mr. Bush? Mr. Moore? Here. Ms. Simmons?
Here.
Ms. Dominguez?
Present.
Let the record indicate that Mr. Duncan's in the restroom. That's what I heard from down there, so I just wanted to clarify.
How does he know?
That's a bad.
All joking aside. All right. The serious matters. I ask you to please stand, and I'm going to ask Ms. Abrams if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would, please remain standing. We have a student, or you want to introduce her?
From Laranja High School, Miss McKenna Tate will be doing the national anthem via.
A movie.
Good evening. We will have a presentation of the Star Spangled Banner sung by McKenna Tate. McKenna is a junior here at Laranja High School.
Thank you, McKenna. I'm proud to call her family, and she loves Laranja. But as always, she did a good job, and she's beautiful as well. All right, consider approval of board minutes, October 20th, 2020. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Bush, seconded by Ms. Abrams, to accept the minutes from the October 20th meeting. Vote online, please.
Voting is open.
Mine never did come up, so yes. Oh, there it is.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 2A, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Simmons, who would like to
All right,
present.
I'd like to call up Miss Juanita Lee, I think, and Mr. Mark Verbos should be here, and Miss Stilly and Mr. Toller. Tonight, we'd like to make a presentation of the UNICEF Jake Bailey Above and Beyond Award, and we want to present this to Ms. Lee. And it says, certificate of recognition to this certificate award to Juanita Lee, teacher, Ponchatoula Junior High School, in recognition for being the recipient of the UNICEF Jake Bailey Jr. Above and Beyond Award, and also a gift certificate to Chile. Congratulations.
afternoon. My name is Mark Verbois. I'm a parent from Ponchatoula. I know discussions that started earlier when the pandemic hit around March and virtual learning had become a quick reality for our students. With that reality came the challenges of navigating this new frontier. Parents, students, teachers, and staff all had questions and were confronted with the assignment of learning this new learning style. Prior to coming this afternoon, I actually saw an interview from Ms. Mary Beth Gravetto, who's a principal at Ponchatoula Junior High. Her interview was about her experience on the upcoming episode for Family Feud. She was planning on being here tonight, but they rescheduled the airing of the show, and she's with her family for the premiere. During the interview, though, they asked in her questioning about the show, and she said, during the show, they want you to be high energy, excited, intelligent, funny, and listening. And I think that applies to the quality of our teachers, and especially the amazing ones like Ms. Lee. Specifically, when the school year was approaching, some began posing questions online of issues they had arisen for them. And during that time, Ms. Lee had emerged and become a beacon to offer solutions and answers to those issues. I've always thought of teachers sort of as a lighthouse, and I recently read a quote that really explained my reasoning, behind that thought. It reads, "A lighthouse doesn't save the ships. It doesn't go out and rescue them. It's just the pillar that helps to guide the people home." To me, the ships are the lives of our students. The teachers aren't there to drive the ship. They're there to guide the ships, help them through the fog, and help them to find their goal. In my understanding, Ms. Lee as a teacher is amazing at guiding her students. She truly stepped up and guided everyone who was in need while learning this new virtual system. Most importantly, she was respectful, she was compassionate, and she was great. That's why I nominated her for the Enos J. Bailey Above and Beyond Award.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you have family here, or somebody here with you? Assistant school, assistant principal?
Yeah.
Stand up, or
Miss Lee's she's just very modest, but on Tangi School Parents, she is like the technology person. We have a Facebook group, and in our group, she like the technology person. So is there anything you do not know about technology, girl? Because you are awesome. So Mark Verbois made a great choice by nominating you. Congratulations.
I also want to compliment Mark too, because as we've been transitioning during COVID, and we needed input, and we got some feedback from different citizens about the ways that we can improve our meetings and how they can hear better and how they can see better and understand. And I do appreciate that feedback, and we need that. All right, item 3A, presentation of the comprehensive annual financial report. Mr. Schneiderbach.
Thank you, Mr. Toller and the board. I'm going to ask Mr. Michael Simon to step up. He's with LaPorte CPAs, and he's going to do our presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm pleased to present the Tangipahoa Hill Parish School System and its Business Service Department with 2 awards for its comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019. You might say we're in 2020. Why is this about 2019? But it takes them a while to review all the ones around the country. So, and I brought the visual just in case you had forgotten maybe what it looks like. It's a large document. The 2 awards are the Government Financial Officers Association's, or GFOA's, Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, and the other is the Association of School Business Officials, or ASBO, Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. Tangipahoa Parish School System has won these 2 awards for 32 consecutive years now. Wow. These awards demonstrate the school system is committed fiscal transparency as you share financial information above and beyond what generally accepted accounting principles requires. For both of these awards, the reports are scrutinized against a rigorous checklist by impartial report reviewers. The panel of reviewers is usually comprised of individuals that are have expertise in public sector financial reporting. They may be financial statement preparers or independent auditors, academics, or any other finance professionals. So first, the GFOA award, or Government Finance Officers Association. The GFOA is known as one of the most trusted governmental accounting organizations outside of the actual rulemaking body, which is the GASB. So the standards here are very high, and your school board is consistently meeting those high standards, which is a tribute to the team you have in place here. It's worth mentioning that for fiscal year 2019, for which this award was given, only 60 local governments in the state of Louisiana applied for and received this award. So if you think about all the local governments in the state, not just school boards, but parish governments, sheriff's office, local municipalities, so on and so forth. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of government accounting and financial reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government and its management. For the Association of School Business Officials International, or ASBO, this award focuses on much the same criteria, but it's focused only on school districts. So it's a little more specialized and more narrowly focused. The statistics for 2019 for that award are not yet out, but just to give you an idea, for 2018, only 22 Louisiana school districts received this award, and only 12 have received it for more than 25 consecutive years. Considering there are roughly 70 school districts, including city school districts and things like that. In the state of Louisiana, this puts Tangipahoa Parish in the top 20% relative to this particular award. Again, it's a tribute to the efforts and the excellence of your team here. So for these reasons, it's my honor to congratulate the board, the administration, especially the Business Services Department for their wonderful efforts and on this achievement. So I'd like to have Kay Roberts come forward and receive these awards and accept them on behalf of Tangipahoa Parish School System.
Thank you, Michael, for making the presentation. I'd like to emphasize that, this 2018-19 year, correct, is the year we're talking about, is a year we had our cyber attack. So, we lost all our financial records, but we were still able to produce an excellent financial document that has been reviewed and accredited. So, and that comes to Kay's work, also in the audience. Jay Coxon's in the audience. The rest of her staff, due to COVID, couldn't all be here because some are being quarantined. But for that, I appreciate the work that Kay does and her whole staff for what they do every day.
Absolutely.
Tom and Miss Lily, do y'all mind coming down for a picture?
Yes.
I can't tell.
All right, item 4. Item 4A, consider the committee reports, Capital Outlay Committee of the Whole from October 20th, 2020. Do we hear a motion to accept that report?
I'll make a motion to accept.
We have a motion.
Second.
Mr. Dominguez, second by Mr. Westmoreland. Any discussion? Questions? Public comment? Hearing none. Call for a vote.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes with Mr. Moore abstaining.
Right? Item 4B, Personnel Committee from November 17th, which is today. It was the 2 field coordinators that we just approved. Do I hear a motion to accept that committee report? Ms. Richards made the motion to accept it, seconded by Ms. Simmons. Any discussion? Any questions? Any public input? Hearing none. Electronic voting, please.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
They are not here to introduce, correct? Okay. All right, item 5, Superintendent's Report. She has several, and I will turn it over to Ms. Dilly.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 5A, we'd ask the board to consider approval to refer policy JCD ACA, breathalyzer testing administration, to the policy committee.
Move to approve the referral of that policy to policy committee.
Okay, Mr. Westmoreland made the motion, seconded by Mr. Moore. Okay, any questions? Any public input? Having none, electronic voting, please.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Item 5B, would ask the board to consider approval of the 2021 graduation dates, and they're attached. Starting, the actual graduation dates would start May 5th with LaRonja High and would end on the 14th with Kentwood High. So we'd ask the board to consider approving that tonight.
Okay, in the form of a motion.
I make a motion.
Ms. Abrams made the motion, seconded by Mr. Westmoreland. Any discussion?
I'm just curious, how do you decide who goes what day?
Mr. Jinko led this, so I'm going to ask him to give us some input on how to select, how each school selects dates. Mr. Jinko, thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Tilly, board. Ms. Dominguez, Southeastern sends us the dates and puts the schools in a particular date, and we send it out to the schools and say, is, like for LaRonja, is Wednesday okay with you? And they say yes. And there was one little adjustment. Ponchatoula High was supposed to be Friday the 7th, but they had a conflict and asked us in Southeastern to move it to Saturday that afternoon. So it's kind of a, you know, if you're principal X and I'm principal Y, we kind of get together and see if we want to switch dates or not. But Southeastern gives us a range, gives us the initial dates, and then the principals work from there.
I was just curious how come Ponchatoula had went to a Saturday. It's
Yes,
never
ma'am.
been on a Saturday.
They have a conflict that Friday, and Dr. Caminita asked, and Southeastern obliged to assist.
Yeah, because I thought we had tried to get away from Saturdays, and then I had quite a few people ask me, why do they have to do it on Saturday?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's just hope that we can have all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever day it may be.
Any other questions? Any public input? Having none, electronic voting, please.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Item 5C, would ask the board to consider approval of a one-time salary supplement for employees.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
That was quick.
Is that
I'll make the motion. Wait.
bunch of seconds? A
Miss-
unanimous motion?
Y'all do know we don't get it, right?
Unanimous?
All right, motion made by Ms. Abrams.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Dominguez. Any questions? Mr. Duncan?
She could just put on the record what the salary supplement is and, you know, what the cost is going to be.
So,
Y'all jumped in there before she got a chance to even say.
We're just so happy.
Shouldn't have hesitated.
so the salary supplement would be $600 for every single employee regardless if they're support employee or teaching in the classroom.
Full-time.
Full-time, thank you. It's full-time employees, and I believe the cost for that is $1.8 million for general fund, but then when you add in the employees that are paid through federal funds, it brings it up to what amount, Brett? $2.2 million would be the total cost for that supplement, for $600 one-time supplement.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion?
I'd like to thank you, Ms. Stilley, for including everybody with the same amount. I think that means a lot to our people, but especially shows what kind of person you are. Thank you, ma'am, for doing that.
Any others? Any public input? Having none, we'll electronic vote.
Voting is open.
I voted first.
I think it's great.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I know our employees will appreciate that, and one thing that I did not mention that I should have mentioned, but we're in a position to do this year because of the increased collection of sales tax, which has been on the increase. I think I've said that to other groups, but I just wanted to say that publicly tonight. And, we wanted to be able to offer this back to our employees for a supplement. Item 5D, we want to discuss the timeline for placement of a tax proposition on the 2021 election ballot. And I'm going to ask Mr. Schneiderbank if he would come up and just give us a big picture view of sort of the timeline that we have to consider in order to move forward with a tax proposition in the spring.
Thank you, Ms. Stilley, Mr. Toller, and the board. Ms. Finkus has put up a spreadsheet that kind of gives you an outline of the timeline it would take for a government entity to place an item on the tax ballot for the 21 school calendar year. You can see the March 20th, 21 election period. Our school board is required by our federal court to give 45-day notice prior to submission of our application to the State Bond Commission, and then the process requires the board to give between 20 and 60-day notice that they plan to discuss a tax election. We've missed the deadline for the March 20th, 2021 election. The next election that would be possible is the April 24th, 2021 election, and you can see the first line, the school board notifies the federal court on 11/27 that its intent to look at possibly consider a tax proposition on the April 24th ballot. And you can see I've boxed the school announces and notifies the intent to call election. That date is December 1. On that particular date, the board only needs to let the public know that at a future board meeting, which would be set for January 5th, that there could be a possible discussion of a possible tax proposition. What that tax proposition doesn't need to be notified to the public on December 1st. You just need to let them, put them on notice that you plan to discuss at the January 5th board meeting. So you can see the application that are highlighted there in yellow. That's the deadline to submit the application to the State Bond Commission. That deadline for the April 24th election is January 13th. So if the board decides they want to do some type of additional revenue with additional taxes, whether it be sales tax or whether it be property tax, the board would have to make that decision by January 5th if they would plan to get it on the April 24th ballot. And then you can see the October 9th ballot. That date is really coming on to us soon too. That's March 16th would be the time that the board would have to notify the public that the March 16th would be the time that the board would be notifying the public that at its next meeting or a future meeting, they would be discussing a possible election, and that meeting would be April 20th to get on the October 9th ballot. So there's a lot of lead time on some of these, but it's the requirements set by the statutes in order to get items on the ballot. So just really for information purposes only. If the board wishes to do anything, it would have to make some action relatively soon.
Question.
Okay, Mr. Duncan?
Mr. Schnottelbach, I don't know the answer to this, but it's my understanding that if the decision is to go with a sales tax, that action would have to be done by the Educational Facilities Improvement District Board members. And I guess my question is, are they the ones that would have to meet these deadlines? Or, because if it's a sales tax, it's not the board that calls the election, right? It's the facilities committee board that calls the election.
That's the next item on your agenda tonight, is to appoint members to that committee. Yes, if, the school board can only levy 2 1-cent sales tax. In order to levy anything additional to 2, it would have to go through an educational facility improvement district. That district board would have to actually approve the proposition at a ballot, and yes, they would probably have to approve it by the January 5th deadline in order to get it. But
they would also
it would have to be before that, so it would come to your board, because this board oversees the Education Facility Improvement District and would have to accept and approve their minutes.
Right, okay.
But, Mr. Schnottelbach, I think the question might be, and what I'm wondering too, is just to clarify, is that the school board determines sort of the direction they want to go, whether it's sales tax or property tax?
Yes, I would imagine the school board ultimately is going to be the final decision on how this tax proposition would be placed.
Right, and yeah, it's my understanding, I know the school board has to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Educational Facilities Improvement Board, and that is the document that determines how the funds would be used. Here's the issue, is a lot of these new requirements and deadlines were put into statute after the creation of this Facilities Improvement Board.
Correct.
And so I guess I'm just curious from a legal standpoint, which one of the two boards is the one that has to meet these requirements going forward with the notices and the calling of the election and the submitting it to the...
That's a question I may have to pose to our bond counsel.
Okay.
So I'll have to come back and let...
But we do know no matter what, we got to get these members appointed.
Correct.
Okay.
But it's my understanding, you're only going to meet once in December, which is December 1st. So that kind of puts a lot of things to happen at that December 1st meeting if we decide to move forward in this direction for an April 24th election.
Gotcha.
Mr. President.
Mr. Bush?
Do we have to have judge approval before this gets on the ballot?
The final agreement does not ask for federal court approval. It just, we need to notify the federal court.
Okay, thank you.
And just once again to clarify, this is not a final plan as to putting anything anywhere, but
Correct. No
the
actions being
preliminary steps that we're doing now sets in motion the ability to be able to do something at a later date.
That's absolutely correct.
If we don't make these decisions today, we will not have an option later.
Correct. And the deadline will be that January 5th meeting.
Correct. Any other, I'm sorry, Ms. Dilley?
I was just going to thank Mr. Schnottelbach for clarifying that.
And I do have one other question. You might not answer it. What if this gets to that point and we're 2 months away from April and the bottom falls out? We shut our economy down again. Everybody has to go home. It just seems like the economy's sunk. The COVID's taken over. Can you change your mind and call it off?
That's a question I'd have to ask.
Yeah.
We could pull, now,
No.
if the State Bond Commission hasn't approved it, and they will file the application for, say, the April 24th, they're going to file it on January 13th, but the State Bond Commission doesn't approve it until February 18th. So if it
Okay.
happens anytime before February 18th, we could pull it off the agenda or ask the State Bond Commission to not rule on that application.
But after February 18th, no matter where we are, is this what we at?
Well, there's one final approval, which is at the Secretary of State deadline, which is March 1st.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
A question.
Ms. Simmons?
So at what point do we decide whether it's going to be a property tax or a sales tax?
We have to do that before January, I believe.
January 5th.
January 5th.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Dilley?
Item 5E, if we're ready to move on.
Yes.
In order to proceed with the possibility of placing a sales tax proposition on a future election ballot, we need to appoint individuals to serve as directors of the EFID board. And some of the high points of the bylaws related to membership are as follows. 1, not less than 5 members on the board of directors. 2, the director's selection is based on some financial experience and the ability to effectively act in the best interest of the district. Number 3, directors must be residents of Tangipahoa Parish. 6, number 4, there's a 6-year appointment. 5, it's a non-paid appointment. And 7, the members are appointed by the Tangipahoa Parish School Board. So the members that we're recommending, you have a document in front of you that's the recommendation that we'd ask you on the agenda tonight to consider approval of the Tangipahoa Parish Educational Facilities Improvement District Board members. And they are, the recommendations would be Trevon Cooper from the Kentwood area, Walter Daniels from the Amite area, Daryl Ferreira is the Hammond area, Robbie Miller, of course, is the parish president and represents the whole parish. We have Mr. Jonathan Rucker, who is from the Ponchatoula area, Mark Burbois, who is actually here tonight, who represents, I say Hammond and Ponchatoula. I think he graduated from Ponchatoula High, but he currently lives in the Hammond area. And then also, I'm very proud to announce this, that Ms. Teresa Damiano, one of our former board members and former educators, who is highly respected, has committed and was very excited to be even asked to serve on this committee. Our goal was to have a diverse committee of both black and white and also gender. We wanted to ensure that we had at least one female representative on the board. And I think that we also wanted to have representation from across the parish. And so I think this is a really good recommendation of diversity and representation of our communities, and would ask the board to approve this tonight.
I had one question. Has anybody actually gotten their agreement? Has anybody talked to these people and they've all agreed to serve?
Yes. Yes.
That's not how we do it.
I
We
know
put their name on here and then we tell them.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I know I recommended one, and
Yeah.
I didn't actually call and ask
Yes.
him if he was willing to do it. Well, I appreciate that, because this is just an incredible,
Everyone is very excited.
Very.
well, this is an incredible group, and I'm really pleased that these folks have agreed to partner with our school system and help us with this. This is, like I said, I can't imagine a better group of people.
I take that in the form of a motion then, Mr. Duncan?
Oh, yes, I'll take a motion
And
to
I'll
it.
make a second, please.
All right, then I have a second of Ms. Dominguez. Any other questions or comments?
Is it possible to add anybody to this once this is done? Only person that I see that represents the center of the parish is Ms. Teresa. Nobody really represents anybody in the center of our parish,
Yeah.
which is Natal, Benny, Tickfaw, and Independence area.
Yeah, that was the intent here, was to have her represent, I call it mid-parish.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the board would have to approve any additions, and, I think the requirement is a minimum of 5, and I really don't recommend a larger, the more people, sometimes it can be, more complicated in agreeing on things, but that would be a board decision. The board decides that.
The bylaws don't prohibit it.
Yeah.
So, if a board member down the road wants to present some additional names, we could certainly put it on an agenda to vote for.
As people have to leave the committee for any particular reasons, then we can keep that, keep that in the back of our mind as far as who to replace them with. Okay, so I have a motion and a second on the floor. No public input. Electronic voting, please.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 6A, just to update. As you know, we've had a community member that has expressed interest in us visiting the idea of increasing our GPA requirements through our athletic program. And after numerous talks with Mr. Vining and several of the coaches and Mr. Lamar himself, I think the best step forward was, like I said at the last meeting, was to form a committee to work on this outside of the boardroom, made up of coaches, interested parties, several board members, and things like that. This list of people that we have that are volunteers, I appreciate them stepping up to volunteer, but by no means does this mean that a board member cannot participate. We're more than glad to have your input and would expect to have your input, and then obviously whatever decision is going to be made will be brought back to the board. So I would ask Ms. Jenkins if she would just to read these names into the record.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I don't see my name on there. How about here?
Yeah.
We'll add it on there.
Well, and Mr. President, this is I don't see Mr. Westmoreland's name as the.
I would do it, yeah.
Did he say that he, I mean, as the chairman of the policy committee, I kind of feel like he.
And I did, and that's just my mistake for not looking over the list, because I did send those to Ms. Cindy as far as both of Mr. Westmoreland and Mr. Moore and myself, but she probably just didn't realize that I meant for them to be on the committee.
Okay.
That's my mistake, but we will add those in.
Okay, for members, we have Jerry Moore, Glenn Westmoreland, Jeremy Brown, Kara Corkin, Jennifer Drake, Jeremy Harper, Misty Holton, Lauren Long, Lamar Marshall, Timothy Mate, Sam Messina, Anochi Ochi, Scott Shaffett, Tom Toller, Mark Verbois, Mark Vining, Tyrone Williams, and Blake Wilson.
Good, and like I said, this is not limiting anybody, because once we did have a request from the athletics coaches to wait till after football season before we dug into this, because they were so busy with their schedules. So out of respect for them, we will, but now we're approaching the end of the season, so we will be scheduling a meeting soon, and hopefully have something to bring back and report back to the full board. So, do I hear that in form of a motion that we adopt this committee?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Bush made the motion to adopt the committee, seconded by Mr. Minguez. Any questions?
I just have one. Is that Coach Jeremy Brown from Kentwood area?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to know the pulse of that area is considered.
Yeah. Most of these are our employees. We have several, just a couple that are concerned parents that wanted to participate. All right, any other questions? Electronic voting, please.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Board member comments. We'll start on the south end with Mr. Bush, and we'll work our way up.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bush? Ms. Simmons? Mr. Duncan? Ms. Richards?
I just want to say that to the parents, because we've been getting calls after calls after calls on COVID for the last couple of days, and I just want to say to the parents that we are very concerned, and we want our children to be safe. So, and of course, you are the parent, so you see what's going on, and you need to make a decision. So, but we're welcoming you to call and to find out what's going on and what we know, and it's an open book of what's going on with us. So it's transparent. Call us as many times as you need to, because we understand that this virus is very, very serious.
Absolutely. Thank you. Ms. Abrams?
I would just like to say, we want to thank all of the teachers and students during Penny Power for TARC. I'm not going to disclose what our totals were just yet, because we don't do that just yet, but we are very happy with the outcome, considering that we had COVID. So we want to thank all of the teachers that did their jobs and got their students to donate to TARC, because we need that money right now for our kids with special needs.
Mr. Moore?
I know that we have a lot of parents who are concerned about the instructional part of the distant learning. This has been a process of, like I said, revamping and trying to find a solution for the instructional part of the distant learning process. I'm hoping, because your struggles are my struggles. I have a grandson who is distant learning. He has been seriously affected, and we're working with him. I've got him some help. But he has been affected just as the children from the parents who have called me and made the comments about the struggles that you're having. I don't know what the final decision is going to be about how to correct this. I do know that there was a condition that was created by the initial distant learning process that we went through when the schools were first closed. And a lot of children went through difficulties because they had not experienced that before. So we are still going through, right now, some difficulties. And I know that there are some children who are struggling, there's some parents who are struggling, trying to become teachers, and you have the difficult job of some of you trying to work, and then others who just don't understand the lesson plans. Well, it's common. I'm struggling with it. So is my grandson. So hopefully we're going to find a way to improve on whatever part of this process we need to improve on to get everybody back online. But I'm just encouraging you not to despair. This is not a hopeless situation. And hopefully we're going to find some answers.
Mr. Westman?
Just a couple of comments. Congratulations to Mr. Schnallebach and the entire financial section of our board. That says a lot about y'all's work ethics, and we definitely appreciate it. Secondly, congratulations to our employees for the salary supplement. We just need everyone in our parish to keep spending plenty of sales tax, and we can make this an annual event. Thank you.
Mr. Mingus?
Yes, I wanted to say a thank you to Mr. Schneidelbach and the finance department as well. They work hard every day, and sometimes we just take it for granted. They work hard. They come up with creative ideas. I want to thank you for what y'all did to help us figure out how to add these additions to our schools we so desperately need. Long time coming. I appreciate everybody voting and supporting that. Also, I'd like to thank you for the sales tax for our community, for purchasing local, so that we can reward our teachers and our employees for working so hard these last few months. It's been a nightmare, truly, and we understand how hard it's been for y'all. And I'm grateful that our local people have shopped at home so that we could actually give this money to our employees. And the other thing I would like to congratulate the people who have volunteered, because not only is it rewarding to volunteer, which I've done for my whole entire life, it's also meaningful to us that you volunteer to do these things, because it is no pay, but it's very, very important that we have people that are willing to step forward and put the children in our school district first. And we really do appreciate y'all willingness to do that. So also, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving next week. Stay safe. Try to social distance while you're having your turkey. And God bless everyone.
Yeah, it's going to echo exactly what you just said. Just wish everybody a good Thanksgiving. I know our employees and our students need a little break. They have been under a lot of pressure to make all this work, so I know they are looking forward to that break. But obviously, you know, since the election's over with, or somewhat over with, hopefully there's a break in negative energy around our country and our local politics as well. But you know, we have a lot to be thankful for, and we can put all of the negative stuff down for a little while and just celebrate and be thankful for what we do have and the great school system that we do have and the great employees. So just with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Dilley, who will have the last word before our executive session.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things I wanted to mention. First of all, we are I wanted to remind the public that we are having a full virtual day on Friday, November the 20th, and the why. I wanted to talk about the why behind that. And the why is based on the fact that, history tells us that the Friday before a holiday like this, a big holiday, we usually have high numbers of individuals that take off work or they do not come to school. They may, go on family trips or get a head start or whatever. Typically, we can handle that under normal circumstances. But with the quarantining of employees and students, added to those numbers, and then in addition to that, individuals that just may be sick or, are not be able to come in for whatever reason, we felt like that, we needed to be proactive and get ahead of this, or else we're going to have major issues on Friday. So our team had a Zoom call meeting with all of our principals, and we talked about this issue, and I got their feedback on this, and asked them if they thought we could make it to Friday with staffing and stuff like that, if that would help them. And all of them agreed to this and thought it was a good idea, and so that's why we're doing the virtual day on Friday. So all of our students, pre-K through 12, all have their devices. They will have them before Friday if they don't already. We had just kindergarten. Some of our kindergarten classes were missing some of their devices. In addition to that, they will work virtually, and all of our staff will report to their work site. So if it's a school employee, they would report to their school. Everyone reports to where they normally report. And I think that also, our teachers for sure can hopefully, be able to catch up on some things that they need to get done before the holidays as well. So in saying that, I want to say this, that I have received a few emails and calls about our COVID numbers tested positive. I'm hearing, y'all have these major outbreaks, and I just want to distinguish that that there's individuals, both adults or children, who test positive, right? Then you have to look at their circle of close contacts, which could be many, or it could be some. And so when you hear of that, it's not always who's positive, but it's who has been a close contact. So if the public, and we need to get this information out to the public, but there is a website that the public, any of us can go to and check. It's public information. We're required by law to report it to the Department of Health and Hospitals, any positive case that we're made aware of here at the district. And we do report that. You can go to the Department of Health and Hospitals website. You click on the COVID link. You click on outburst across the state. You go to K-12, and you can get the numbers for every school district in the state and what our numbers are. And so it goes back all the way to August. And then you can also just look at the latest week, which is usually the week before, and how many positive cases. It breaks it down by adults, and then it breaks it down by students. So, and you'll see that, many of our numbers are well under many districts in the state, especially in this region. So I wanted to make sure that the public is aware of that information. And then the last thing is I just want to remind also that the deadline for families to register to be full virtual in January for the spring second semester, the deadline is this Friday, and it's a firm, hard deadline. We extended it another, 8 days or 10 days to, allow people extra time to register, and that's important because it helps us to, for staffing purposes. So the deadline is Friday, and just to be clear, even if the student is in full virtual right now, this semester, they have to reapply. So just because you're in it now doesn't mean you're automatically in it in January. So again, the deadline's Friday, and I just ask everyone to try to get that in. You go to our website, click on the link and register your child. We just need to know basic stuff like name, school they attend, and grade level. So I just wanted to make that announcement again.
Do you have any numbers for us?
Wait,
Do you
well,
have any numbers for us? Or virtual?
I don't have numbers yet.
higher, lower?
I don't, the deadline's Friday.
No, I'm talking about, but so no early indications if more students
I don't have
sign
any
up or you have
early
checked in. Thank you.
indications.
Question. Duncan? We do our beat up on the superintendent session
I was
like
looking
we
for
did
it.
last. I thought that was a good thing. On the virtual registration thing, some of the questions from parents so that they can make this decision is virtual next semester going to be substantially similar to what it is now? Like, so meaning, we had kind of what it was when we first started trying to do it, and then now it's kind of fixed and calmed down. Are we essentially planning on kind of maintaining
Yes.
what we have now so that parents know what to expect?
Right. We're maintaining, we don't want major changes right now because everyone is settling in, teachers are getting into the groove of what they're doing and so forth. I think things will even get better as we get into the second semester. What will be different will be August. So in August, for the next school year, we'll have a registration period in the spring for August, and they'll have separate teachers teaching virtual students across the parish. So there will be no teacher that's doing both in-person and virtual. They'll be all virtual in August.
So while there may be some tinkering here and there, like what Mr. Moore was suggesting, the main, as far as what it looks like, will be what they've been seeing the last month or so.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Next question was for the people who are planning on being out on Friday, that, you mentioned that we had a lot of people that were possibly going to take extra vacation or early vacations. Those people who don't show up, those teachers or staff that don't show up for work on Friday will be docked that day, not being, right?
That's correct.
So just because we went to virtual does not mean that they get a free
pass.
And then all the other people still have to work.
No. Any employee that does not report to their work site and, takes the day off or whatever is docked that day, a day of leave, whether it's a personal day or, annual day or sick day or whatever.
All right, and then last one is we hear rumors about whether we will be virtual from here through Christmas. I know you've answered that question 100 times, but maybe just one more time. There's no intention at the local level for us to go to full virtual after the Thanksgiving holiday. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we plan to, when we return from Thanksgiving, I think it's November 30th, on Monday, we return from the Thanksgiving holidays. We have about 3 weeks, exactly 3 weeks, I believe, until Christmas. And we plan to go every day during those 15 days and before Christmas in the buildings.
Right.
And then, of course, we'll be out for Christmas.
Right, so there's no discussion in this building or any secret super something that is going to make that change, at least not here at the parish level.
That's correct.
All right.
But Wednesday will still be virtual as it is now, after
For high school.
holiday. For high school, after this holiday.
Yes.
Yeah, as it is now.
Yes. No. No.
Okay, Melissa, I have one question for you concerning the virtual and how much of the virtual classroom is going to actually include Zoom. I know we have a difference. We have the Zoom classroom and we have the live cast, but a teacher actually allows a student access to the instructional board where the student can actually see what the teacher is instructing and hear what she's saying to the classroom.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure what your question is.
Okay, so in the fall, in the spring, next semester, what is going to be the composition of the Zoom part or the virtual part of the classroom. Are we going to have dedicated, scheduled Zoom classes? You know, because they've been a little bit infrequent, you know, and I get calls, parents concerned, because a lot of the children have a tendency to not pay attention and not do anything when they're expecting a Zoom class or a live cast, and it doesn't happen. So it creates a confusion for both the parent and the child. And
Okay.
so I'm hoping that a lot of the parents, because I tell them watch school board meetings and see what comes out of that before they call me, because I get a lot of spam calls too. So some of those parents probably miss me. Hopefully they will leave a message if I don't answer my phone. But as far as live cast view of the classrooms, you know, how much of that should the parents be expecting?
So in January, first of all, there will be there should be already a schedule of when there's Zoom calls, okay? Now, in saying that, things happen. I mean, you know, a teacher may not be at school that day, and they're supposed to have the Zoom call at 9 o'clock for math, and there's a sub in the class. So things happen, so, you know, that's part of the problem. So parents need to understand that just because it's scheduled for that time, you know, obviously if the teacher's there, they're going to do the call, but there could be other things happening. That's one thing. To answer the question about continuous, what we call, you know, all day from 8 to 3, where students are synchronous learning, which is like a live view of the classroom, that will not happen in January from 8 to 3 every day. And parents need to know that.
Yeah, I mean, that's not happening now. It's
Right.
The
It's-
core classes.
Yes.
That they're doing that for.
Okay.
All right, so that will continue. Is that the understanding?
Yes.
That will be taken away? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
So there should be a schedule now of Zoom calls that teachers are doing, and that will continue in January.
Okay.
Superintendent, I understand that you said go to the website for the Department of Health, and that our numbers, and I'm glad to hear that our numbers are lower than other districts. But with the parents, they're more concerned with per school campus numbers. So how do they find out? Could you clarify that? Where do they get those numbers from?
Well, at this time, they're not breaking it down on that website by school campus, and we're not either. I mean, we notify the schools when there's a positive case. We have a form letter, we have a message that goes out to notify them when there's a positive case, and we call and also contact the ones that are close contacts. But we're not putting anything on the website and collecting, and, you know, I mean, we're not ready to do that at this point. I think that that's going to be the next step for the Department of Health and Hospitals. In fact, I've heard that that's what they're going to be doing next.
Any other questions? All right. Hearing nothing else, do we have any public input tonight? No public input, then I'll entertain a motion to consider approval to enter an executive session to discuss the case of Larry Gibson Sr.
So
Herman
moved.
Diamond versus Tangipahoa Parish School System.
So moved.
Motion made, second by Westmoreland. Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes by common consent.
Channel 17, proudly serving the Florida parishes.
Back in session, do we have a motion as a result of our executive session?
Move to adopt the council's recommendation.
We have a motion to adopt council's recommendation on item 8A.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Westmoreland. Any questions? Electronic voting, most everybody has it up by now, so
Okay, let me close this. Do you want me to mark it unanimous?
Oh, well,
Any opposition to the motion? Hearing no opposition, motion carries by unanimous consent. Anything else be brought before the board?